The number of heat stroke patients have increased 4 times in Japan amid a sweltering heat wave. The mercury hit 40 degrees Celsius in some cities. Over the period, 9,105 people sought emergency hospital care for suspected heat stroke across the nation, more than twice the number during the same period last year. Patient numbers are likely to increase in the weeks to come, which is expected to put a strain on hospitals. A website has been launched as a preemptive measure to provide heat stroke patients intake estimates for hospitals. DD India's Chris Gilbert joins us from Tokyo. Chris, good morning. Now, get us the latest on the current situation in Japan, because we tell our viewers that the cases have swelled to 4 times as have the temperatures there. What is the Met Department predicted there? What has been the reason behind this sudden spurt in temperature?
Yeah, well, the rainy season in Japan, the so-called rainy season, which usually happens through June into July, has become more and more distorted and less reliable over a period of years now. And if you have a look, there are reports going back at least a decade talking about unprecedented heat every year in June and July in Tokyo and throughout Japan. Now, if it's unprecedented every year, that effectively means it's getting hotter and hotter, earlier and earlier every year, and that is not taking any strain off the usual months of heat in August. And many people I've spoken to here in Japan say that this is completely weird, to be honest, that when they were children growing up in Tokyo, this kind of heat, 40 degrees, is usually the middle of August, not early July. It is catching many people by surprise, and today it's a little cooler. There is some cloud cover, and no doubt that comes to as some relief. As we saw, as you mentioned, 9,000 hospital call-outs last week, and the most important set of all amongst that is about 60% of that 9,000 are those aged 65 and older. As we know, Japan has one of the highest older population numbers of older people in the world for any country in the world. About a third of the population is over 65, and those are the most vulnerable, the most at risk, and by far lead the stats of fatalities from heat stroke every year. So the government, as you mentioned, has taken some emergency precautions this year that it hasn't in the past. It's created cooling stations around the city. It's asked public facilities like libraries and community centres, town halls to have the aircon going to allow people to take some refuge from the heat. But many are concerned that if it is this hot now, entering the 40-degree range now, they're very concerned about what August is going to bring.
All right, Chris, that was about the efforts and the measures taken by the administration. But has the Met Department predicted relief in the near future? Till when do we expect this heat wave to continue, and do we expect it to end anytime soon?
Well, as I say, the predictability of the weather around the summertime, and especially in the crossover seasons from spring into summer, from summer into autumn, is becoming less and less reliable. But there are some measures being taken, or some calls being made, especially by the Doctors Association, which is calling on especially the older population of Japan to absolutely stay home unless it's necessary to head out. As I say, today is a bit cooler, so it has provided some relief. But even if people do stay home, there is concerns of fatalities or other heat stroke, related illnesses or events happening inside people's houses, because about 37% of last week's heat stroke incidents happened inside people's houses. About 80% of fatalities last July in 2023 happened inside people's houses. So even though there are calls for people to stay at home, there are also calls for people to absolutely use their air conditioning if they have it, because the cost of living has gone up in Japan over the last couple of years. People are becoming less reluctant to use these services, the energy, as it becomes more and more expensive. So there are emergency facilities being provided in public. As I mentioned, the cooling facilities, there are, the spread of information is increasing with the government launching websites and issuing alerts. But the vast majority of these incidents are happening inside people's homes, but even then, people are not necessarily safe.
All right, Chris, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details.